Hey guys, how you doing? Rantoinette here. I wanted to do a Sunday update. I hope everybody had a good weekend. It was hot as hell in New York City, but I'm not here to report on the weather. I made a list of stories. I took notes. I mean, I've got pages and pages of fucking notes over here of so many things that I missed. There is just too much newses, way too many newses. And I couldn't get to them all. There's no way I could sit down and do a clip on each one of these stories. So, Jesus, I just want to speed read through these things and see if I can get this done in less than an hour. I doubt it because I do tend to run my mouth, but let's see if I can do it as quickly as humanly possible. Okay. Juneau, Alaska is preparing for glacial flooding. This has been happening over and over again for the last few years with climate change the way it is. We all know it, even though we have an administration that just completely denies its existence. We know it's happening. And they have been building like seawalls and stuff like that to help prevent it. And so far, they have been able to prevent it for the most part, but they're estimating that the walls that they have are not going to be strong enough to hold for this particular season. So, not good. Treasury Secretary Besant, or Besant, whatever you want to call him, he is calling for the Fed to do an interest rate cut based on the numbers from May and June that were so much lower than the estimates of $150,000 per month. I mean, 145 to 150 jobs per month. May and June is like 14 and 19,000 jobs. So he's asking the Fed to do a rate cut on that. But the problem is that Donald Trump doesn't believe it and doesn't believe in those numbers. So how can you actually ask for a rate cut of something that the administration doesn't believe? I don't know, but I guess he's expecting the Fed to do that. There is a Boston consulting group that is currently behind the GHF, which is the Gaza Humanitarian Relief Fund, and they are helping Donald Trump develop a plan to do ethnic cleansing and plans to move Gazans to Somalia. There's a little bit more on that a little bit later on in this, another update where it's not just Gaza. Well, just fuck it. I'll just say it now. It's Indonesia, it's Somaliland, South Sudan, and I can't even remember the other country. But Bibi Netanyahu is actively asking them, hey, we're trying to do some ethnic cleansing here. You want to help us out a little bit, take some Palestinian people? So, I mean, they're just right out in the open with this shit. You know, this ethnic cleansing, it's just right out in the fucking open. Let's see here. Trump extended the tariffs on China for another 3 months because obviously he's a tough guy when it comes to smaller economic countries. But, you know, when it comes to China, they are so much stronger than any other country other than us with economic buying power and manufacturing power, that he is doing everything he can to not put any more tariffs on China, which, you know, is a good thing. I mean, you know, everybody gives Donald Trump, you know, the whole taco Trump always chickens out thing. Honestly, I'm glad he's chickening out. I mean, otherwise, we're just going to be paying buckets more money for everything, and that it's already happening. Let's see here. The Congressional Budget Office, the CBO, has confirmed that the Donald Trump's big, beautiful bullshit bill is now currently taking $1,200 from the lowest, the poorest people in America and just giving it to the rich. They have confirmed it with the numbers that if you are in the lower, I think it's like the lower 20 percentile, you are going to be losing $1,200 with the cost of everything going up and the fact that he's cutting your health care and food stamps. Great. You know, to go along with that, core inflation is already up 3%. And that's not even, you know, that's just taking into the consideration of just tariffs as of now. much less in a couple of months when the rest of them, they're already kicking in right now. But, come Christmas time, it's going to be a higher number. So we got that to look forward to. This should make for a really good holiday season. Donald Trump wants a new census. Normally it's done at the beginning of each decade. But this time Donald Trump wants to do it now. I believe for 2026, he wants to do a new census. But this time he does not want to include undocumented immigrants or any immigrants for that matter, which is, first of all, completely unconstitutional. And because in the Constitution, it says they need to count every person, every single person. And when you do something like that, it's all undocumented immigrants are already not filling out these forms because they are afraid that they're going to get tracked down to them. And the next thing you know, ICE or DHS is going to be knocking on the door. So it's already difficult to get those people to fill out the census in the first place. But now Donald Trump is just openly saying, I don't want any undocumented immigrants, which means that they're not going to get fair representation. And that's ultimately the goal for Donald Trump. He does not want these people to have any representation. And he wants to water down the strength of any Democratic congressman in their district. So they're just out in the open with this shit now. Let's see here. The Trump administration strips federal workers of union protections. They just did a deal under Biden to get those protections. And it's like 100,000 out of all these workers, 100,000 of them are VA employees. So if you are a veteran and you are dealing with the VA on a regular basis at all, my father is one of those people that deals with the VA. He's always bragging about how good his hearing aids are. Well, those people just lost their union protection. So, I don't know if that means anything to you as a veteran, but honestly, it should. I don't know if you knew about this story, but Jesus Christ, Florida man strikes again. Miss USA is this woman named Lindsay Langston. She's a former Miss USA. She was dating this guy named Corey Mills, who, did domestic abuse against he had two girlfriends, and he was doing domestic abuse against this other girl that he was dating. And Lindsay Langston did not know that he was cheating on her with somebody else, and only found out about it by hearing the report that Corey Mills, the Republican representative, was abusing his other girlfriend. Then he turned around and he didn't want to break up with Langston, so he threatened her with violence and revenge porn. He's like, let me see. He's obviously got anger issues, and he is one of the. Do you remember, I don't know if you remember this, it was like a couple years ago, they did this act in Congress called the Take It Down Act. So you cannot put up revenge porn, meaning like you filmed your girlfriend naked or something, and you can't threaten her with those naked photos or naked videos or anything sexually compromising. And this guy Corey Mills actually voted for it, and now he's threatening her with it. He goes, oh yeah, I got the film. While it was being, this is the other thing. While it was being signed into law, he was literally texting Langston threats to reveal those nude pictures and then beat up her current boyfriend. And by the way, that guy, Corey Mills, he was up for the Department of Defense, as well as Pete Kegsbreath. And he was previously an international arms dealer. So awesome. That sounds like a great guy. Great guy. Corey Mills, fantastic guy. The Democrats currently are up 8 points in the generic ballot because Donald Trump is fucking up the bag so much that even weak-ass Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries and co., they're still up 8 points in the generic ballot. Let me see here. Trump to have the Supreme Court of the United States in the Voting Rights Act. They've already been chipping at it for a while. They got, and I think they got rid of Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. Now Donald Trump just wants them to get rid of it altogether. And when they did get rid of the Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, a lot of Republican states and Republican districts started doing fuckery like, you can't have bottled water while you stand in line to vote, or we're going to get rid of certain certain polling places in your big blue city, where in the red districts, you go in, you vote, it takes you about 20 minutes to go in and out and vote. And then some of these blue cities, they have shrunk the amount of polling places. So now, places like Louisville, Kentucky, which is a blue dot in the middle of Kentucky, a red state, they have like half the amount of polling places. So now these people are standing in line 5, 6, 7, 8 hours. And then, of course, they passed that law that you can't have water, or nobody can give you water while you're standing in line to vote. They're just desperately trying to make it as hard as possible to vote. And Donald Trump wants to get rid of all the rest of the protections because, if you're not going to be able to win on policy, what do? You fucking cheat. And that's what Donald Trump is doing. Let's see here. Donald Trump is now raising the rates on student loans, and it's going up 13%. And then, of course, at this point right now, student loan delinquency is at its highest it's ever been in 20 years. And that's got a lot to do with the fact that during COVID, they either stopped it so you didn't have to make payments, and they just kind of, put it on the back burner. And then, of course, Joe Biden ushered it back in towards the end of his presidency, and now Donald Trump is kicking it into high gear, meaning you don't just have to start paying back the loan as it is. Now you have to pay interest on the loan that you had not paid yet, and we're increasing the rate of the amount that you need to pay. People can't afford the price of food and rent. Now you're going to just shove this right up their ass. Wow. Good stuff. And on that same point, the New York Post, which is a very right-wing rag publication, they say they're blaming young people for being broke. It's not the situation that we're in. It's not inflation. It's not the cost of goods. It's not anything. It's just lazy youths buying avocado toast. It's that same old fucking trope again. So you're broke because of the decisions that you made. And that decision was eating avocado toast for lunch. How dare you spend money on food that you want to eat? With this new invasion that's going on in D.C., Donald Trump has been talking about this for a while. But and he's enacting it right now in D.C. They're out there like, just clearing out homeless encampments with bulldozers and shit like that. Well, now Trump is saying that he wants to put these homeless people in asylums. Do you help out the homeless people by providing small, affordable housing? No. We just stick them in an asylum. So either way, we as a taxpayer are going to have to pay for that. What are you going to do? Build some prisons for them? Because there's a lot of homeless people. I think the number right now is about 750,000 current counted homeless people. But they don't count all the homeless people. Because oftentimes, homeless people either live in their cars or they're not in like a homeless shelter. And if you are living out on the street and you're not getting counted and you're not in a homeless shelter, you're not on that list. So I would probably assume that we're probably looking at least 2 million, maybe more homeless people in this country because nobody can fucking afford rent. But yeah, man, let's spend U.S. tax dollars building prisons to stick homeless people in. That's a good fix. Meanwhile, buying somebody a house or getting somebody some kind of very cheap housing can cost anywhere between $10,000 to $15,000 a year in taxpayer money for each homeless person. To put them in jail costs anywhere between $30,000 to $60,000. So either way, as a taxpayer, you're paying for this. So do you want to pay $10,000 to $15,000, or do you want to pay $30,000 to $60,000 to put them in a fucking prison or an asylum? I mean, just let's let the math do some mathin', shall we? All right. Anyway, moving on. I read a report recently that is just as troubling as, the American dream is fucking dead, y'all. It's just fucking dead. People there are, how do I phrase this? Less than 10% of people 30 or under actually are married and have a house. It means that 90% of people 30 and under are either not married or don't have a house. The American dream back in the day was, a man. This is the patriarchy, but I'm just saying back in like the 50s, in the 60s, a man had a job and he could raise a family of at least 4, maybe more, have a house, have a car in the garage, and enough to take at least one vacation a year on one salary. Nowadays, everybody's working 2 jobs. The grind set, the side gigs, the side projects, and yet still 10% of 30 and under are not married and don't have a house. The American dream's fucking dead. By the way, just a side note to add insult to injury. You know what it is in China? 30 and under, 70% of 30 and under are married and have a house. You always talking about the population problem is going down. We're not going to have enough people to help out, paying Social Security for people who are retiring. And we have a population problem because people are not reproducing at a rate that is like, I think it's supposed to be like 2.2 or 2.4%. 2.2 or 2.4 children per household to keep the population going. And we're below that. We're like 1.6%. We did have a built-in safety net because so many immigrants wanted to come to this country. So we already had a built-in safety net, but with the Donald Trump administration kicking them all out and not letting them, we're closing the border. We're shooting ourselves in the fucking foot when it comes to that. And those people, they do pay into Social Security and they don't get any benefits until they become a citizen, which can take anywhere between 10 to 20 fucking years. Anyway, I'm getting off on a side tangent here, but that's just a stunning statistic. I read this article recently that just spooked me out. I can't even believe it. Donald Trump owns slaves in Dubai. Seriously. When he had construction going on, having a Trump building go up, and the people who were actually doing the building were slaves. They come in to get the work done, and then as soon as they come in to get work, they're getting charged for housing. They're getting charged for food, which they can't get outside. They have to stay in these little areas. When they come in, they take a train in to come and work, and they have to stay like 6 people to a small little room, and they're all paying for their own food and their own shelter and all of those things. And it's the money that they're getting paid for it is not enough to even cover that. So then they have to go into indentured servitude. And, and that was a Trump construction site. So Trump owned slaves. That tracks. Let's see here. Bibi Netanyahu said that look, Gaza is like 90% of the buildings are completely destroyed in Gaza. They're leveled. They're razed to the ground, as they say. And Bibi Netanyahu, his excuse for that is that, we didn't do any of the bombing. That wasn't us. It was Hamas booby trapped each one of the buildings. And we would go in there and, all of a sudden the booby trap goes off and we have to go running out of there. And, we weren't going in to bomb. We weren't doing any of that stuff. It was Hamas. He's blaming their leveling of that fucking, the entirety of the Gaza Strip is leveled. And he's blaming it on Hamas's booby traps. Jesus Christ, man. God, the propaganda is just obscene. Donald Trump is, they are writing up plans right now as we speak, war plans to bomb and possibly invade Mexico because of the cartels and the fentanyl. Now, you got to keep this in mind. Most of the ingredients that are used to make fentanyl are made in India and China. If Donald Trump really wanted to, he could go after them and say, hey, we're putting like huge sanctions on you until you stop sending that stuff over there. But instead he is saying that he's going to go after Shine Bomb in Mexico without her permission and start sending in fucking Tomahawk missiles to go after the cartels. And also keep in mind that 90% of the fentanyl that comes over the border doesn't come with, immigrants. It comes through legal means, meaning white people are going to Mexico, getting it, and then bringing it back through the ports of entry, the quote-unquote quote legal way. So 90% of the fentanyl is being brought in by Americans, not immigrants. But, we don't believe in facts in America anymore. We just don't really care about that. Numbers, statistics, fuck that shit. Let's see here. The Department of Justice has a $50 million reward for anybody who can arrest Maduro, who is the president of Venezuela. It reminds me of during Biden, at the beginning of Biden's term, they had that guy's name, Juan Guaido, who had gotten like 4% of the vote in the election in Venezuela. And everybody from Biden to Trump to Nancy Pelosi, very uniparty, right and left, they all agreed that Juan Guaido is the president. And it's like, he wasn't even the second closest to Maduro, much less the third, fourth, or fifth. He was at the bottom of the list, but since, he is friends with people on the inside here in America, they were all just declaring him the president of Venezuela. I think that they actually brought him to like one of those State of the Union addresses or something like that. It was just absolutely ridiculous. But now the Department of Justice is offering up a $50 million, basically a bounty, to go and arrest Maduro. Man, no more foreign adventures, no more wars, right, Don? Right? We don't want to get involved in any of this stuff. It's America first. Let's see here. And also to go along with that, the Department of Justice has now opened up an investigation on Letitia James. That is the New York Attorney General who prosecuted Donald Trump and convicted him of 34 crimes of fraud and tax evasion. So this is just revenge porn for Republicans to go after Letitia James. I don't know how far that's going to go, but I mean, we are living in fascist times these days. So does that mean that they're going to be, frog marching Letitia James out of there? We'll see. I don't know. Doctors Without Borders reported that the IDF is purposefully shooting starving people, and they're doing it in a kill box. So that whole GHF, Gaza Humanitarian Force thing, where they are they've shut down all of the UN and the UNRWA food and medicine delivery sites. There was like 400 of them that go into Gaza. Now they have shrunk that down to just 4 sites, and they're all at the southern tip of Gaza. So all of the starving people are going down there to get the food. And while they're down there, every day, it's usually 80 to 100 people get shot. Starving people are getting shot. And even now, Doctors Without Borders, who is a very reputable international agency that that employs doctors to go into some of the most war-torn or poverty-stricken countries, now they're saying that they're just starving them and killing them. Let's see here. There's a Nathan J. Robinson took it upon himself to ask as many senators as he could if they accepted all of the international agencies saying that Israel is doing a genocide. He ended up asking about 50 of them, and I think it was like 48 of them didn't even get back to him, didn't answer him. But one of them, I think her name is Cortez Masto. She just looks right at him and she goes, Israel is our ally. Moving on. That's our Senate right now. They're all bought and paid for by AIPAC. It's just as simple as that. Oh, to show you how bad Donald Trump is doing internationally is, not just with foreign adventures and wars and bombs and we're providing Israel and all that shit, but with the tariffing that's going on, a lot of countries are now backing away from America and, doing their own trade with other countries. So India had a weapons deal with America because that's the only thing America makes now is just weapons. Raytheon and the military-industrial complex, Grantham Northam, General Dynamics, what have you. That's all we make anymore is just weapons. And India had a weapons deal with us, but since Donald Trump slapped tariffs on them because they were buying oil from Russia, which, by the way, India is much closer to Russia than it is to us, but they were buying oil from Russia. And now, since Donald Trump added tariffs because of the oil purchasing, Modi, who is basically India's Donald Trump, he's now meeting with Xi Jinping. He's probably going to be buying his weapons from them. And Australia is now buying warships from Japan, and as opposed to us. And Japan is getting beef from Brazil, which, by the way, we have thrown like a 50% tariff on Brazil because the president of Brazil, Lula, is actually prosecuting Bolsonaro, the guy that tried to overthrow his election in 2021, because Bolsonaro saw Donald Trump did it and goes, well, I'm going to do the same thing because Donald Trump's my fucking buddy and my daddy, so I'm going to do the same thing. But the only difference is that Brazil, they actually prosecute people who try to overthrow democracy. In America, we don't do that, but Brazil, they did. And so Donald Trump is throwing a 50% tariff on Brazil, and we get, I think it's something like 25% of our beef from Brazil. 25%, which, by the way, brings me to another thing. I can't remember. I have to get to it here, but it was something like our beef prices have gone from like $6.50 a pound. Now it's up to $12. So it's nearly double the price for a pound of ground beef here in America. Nearly double. Not to mention the price of coffee going up. The cost of goods are just going up. There's no getting around it. But so Japan is now supplementing the beef that we're not buying from Brazil anymore, and they're buying beef from Brazil. And Canada is buying warplanes from France as opposed to buying them from us because we're slapping, I think, as a 25% tariff on Canada. So Donald Trump's tariff thing, it's having the reverse effect that he thought it would. He thought that, everybody would come to him on bended knee begging, please, Mr. Trump, what can we do for you? And a lot of smaller countries are doing that. But, those are ones without a very big military and don't have a lot of economic backing. So they are basically giving Donald Trump what they want, which, by the way, reminds me, Donald Trump had tariff on Vietnam up until the point where they made a deal with Donald Trump to build a Trump resort in Vietnam. And then Donald Trump took away the sanctions. So, I mean, Donald Trump, I think the number is like $3.4 billion that he's already made by being president. $3.4 billion the Trump organization has made while he's been in the White House for the last 7 months. I mean, emoluments clause be damned. Jesus Christ, it's insanity. It's fucking insane. Okay, Mark Zuckerberg, billionaire fucking douchebag. He lives in Palo Alto. I think he's also owns an island in Hawaii, but he is building a Zuckerberg compound in Palo Alto. He's bought 11 properties in the neighborhood, and they're all in the same kind of general area. And he has been doing construction, building a billionaire bunker. I guess they're all these billionaire types are just preparing for, either the apocalypse or maybe they're preparing for the pitchforks that are coming. I don't know. But all the neighbors hate it. It's been under construction for a couple of years now. And and by the way, he spent like $110 or $111 million buying up all of these properties. You have too much fucking money. These people have way too much money. And it's like they have their own rules. No, rules don't apply to billionaires. They just buy off the politician in the area. It doesn't seem to matter. And if you are a neighbor living in Palo Alto, you just have to suck it up and fucking take it. There's nobody stopping Mark Zuckerberg from doing this. Yeah, the neighbors say they feel like they are being occupied, which, yeah, man, I guess it does make sense. Every day, every night, construction. He's building like grand size, Olympic size pools and pickleball fields. And he built a statue of his wife. It's like 7 foot tall. Billionaires need to go, man. They need to fucking be abolished. There should never be a billionaire. If you have $1 billion, you won capitalism. Just 1 billion. You won capitalism. Go away. Move to your mountaintop, with John fucking Galt from Atlas Shrugged, and live out the rest of your days happy, wealthy, and rich. You won. Get the fuck out of our lives. But nah, man. Yeah, I want to be the first trillionaire. Right, Mark? Right, Elon? I think I mentioned that. Let's see. There's a article in Axios. Donald Trump and co. are now doing loyalty ratings on the top 500 U.S. companies. It's not about merit anymore, folks. It's about how well you kiss the dear leader's ass. I mean, that's why I keep saying fascism, because, it's not free market. It's never really been free market, but, they're not even pretending to be free market now. It's just, did you support the big, beautiful bill? And I'm going to give you a loyalty rating on whether or not your company was sufficiently loyal enough. I guess if you end at the bottom of that list, Donald Trump's going to be asking for tributes, or he's going to take away your LLC or, your incorporation. I don't know, man. I don't know, but why you would be doing something like this, I guess it tracks. Let's see here. Trump is calling the country of Norway, and he's threatening them with tariffs if they don't give him a Nobel Peace Prize. Jesus Christ, man. I mean, if you win an award for something, you feel proud of it because you worked really hard. You did something of note to get that award. I mean, doesn't it kind of take away the pride in it if you basically had to twist and break somebody's arm to get you to give you an award? I mean, this is like, I used to hear conservatives and Republicans always talking about, oh, these young kids, these millennials out there, all they want is participation trophies. Well, that's what this is. Either I'm going to put a tariff on you or you're going to give me a Nobel Peace Prize. Dude, you just bombed Iran. You are funding a fucking genocide and you want a Nobel Peace Prize. And if not, you're going to twist their arm by slapping tariffs on them. God damn, man. God damn. It's just, he's a fucking child. He's a fucking child. There's this article in the Daily Beast I read. Trump owns about anywhere between $1 to $2.5 million in Apple and Nvidia stock. And he just did a special concession deal with them. So that means that Donald Trump gave them a special concession. I believe it was on chips, computer chips from Nvidia. And, that all comes from, I believe it all comes from, Jesus Christ, my brains, Taiwan. And, that's why Tim Cook of Apple, went to the White House and gave him that gold-plated fucking gift so he could get a special dispensation. So Donald Trump, before he made the deal, went out and bought $1 to $2.5 million worth of stock in Apple and Nvidia, and then gave them the special concession. And then, of course, those stocks rose, and then Donald Trump made money. And it, also it kind of goes with that whole, he made $3.4 billion from just being in the White House. I mean, it's shit like that is the reason why he's able to make over $3 billion for the Trump organization. You probably already seen it by now, but Trump is taking over the Smithsonian. This is not the Kennedy Center. This has not got anything to do with executive authority, even though that doesn't really have anything to do with executive authority. But there is, some kind of small little justification of that, even though it's not. But, you could say there's some kind of justification, but there is no justification in this. And yet the Smithsonian is wheeling and dealing with them going, oh, God, man, he's going to cut our funding. Why don't we just kiss his ass and let him have what he wants? And I believe it was recently he got rid of an impeachment exhibit. But the Smithsonian doesn't really do anything like that. The Smithsonian doesn't really, they're kind of a nonpartisan organization. And so they're just kind of history nerds and wonks and history buffs. But yet Donald Trump is basically just rewriting history, just fascist playbook 101. Let me see here. Another one from the Daily Beast. Trump and Epstein competed for the affections of Princess Di. Not because they had crushes on her, but because they were trying to increase their celebrity. And by the way, that is from Michael Wolff, and Michael Wolff has released a lot of stuff. I mean, he's a bit of a fabulist, I will say that. But he does have hundreds of hours of, I think it's not hundreds, I think he said he has about 100 hours of audio recordings with Jeffrey Epstein. And we've heard some of them. One where Epstein was saying, yeah, Donald Trump has been my best friend for the last 10, 15 years. And another one said that, another one of those recordings said that Donald Trump offered him a job in the White House back in like 2017. And, those were actually recordings that we've heard. By the way, that all came out in October of 2024, and no media talked about it. No media played any of those audio clips, which probably could have affected the election. But, we can see how media has just basically turned tail and run or kowtowed like all of the biggest law firms and the biggest media organizations out there, namely the CBS, Paramount, Skydance merger, how they bent over backwards for Donald Trump. So let's see here. There is in Morning Consult, they did a poll, an opinion poll on Medicaid recipients. And back in January when Donald Trump took office, he had like a 52 or 53% approval rating with Medicaid recipients. Now, in the last couple of months since the big ugly ass bill, it has dropped to 36%. So, secret's out, y'all. People on Medicaid, they're all scared shitless because they know what's coming. They know they're about to lose their coverage, and it's scaring the shit out of them. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm just running through shit here. There was this, let's see here. Trump administration spent $560,000 on buying new vehicles for ICE trucks, not trucks full with ice, but, ICE Gestapo trucks. And they also bought these fancy wraps to go around the trucks. It's got their ICE logo and they feel like Billy Badasses and what have you. And then to top it off, they did a propaganda rap video. See, we're cool, we're hip, we've got rap artists rapping for ICE, man, and they're rapping our trucks. And it's like $500,000 buying new vehicles for these fucking assholes. I mean, they just got an infusion from the big beautiful bill of $175 billion. That's more than the money that we give to Ukraine. That's more than the money that we give to Israel. It's more money than most countries' military budgets. And now they have $175 million. Well, I'm glad we're spending our tax money wisely. Well, let's see here. Trump was bragging about having the highest approval rating of any Republican president. And here's the thing, man. Donald Trump just lies, man. All he does is fucking lie. And he just says the lie, and he has a whole cadre of people behind him ready to back him up and pretend like the lie is real. Well, I saw this online. At the highest point of all of these Republican presidents, each one of them had high watermarks of approval rating. George W. Bush, right after 9/11, he had his highest approval rating. He had an approval of 90%. At the end of the first Iraq invasion, George W. Bush's daddy, George H.W. Bush, he had an 89% approval rating. I mean, it's amazing what kind of approval rating you can get when you end a war. Go figure. Gerald Ford had a 71% approval rating. I believe that was right when he got into office after they got rid of Nixon, because just getting rid of Nixon made America happy. And speaking of Nixon, Nixon's highest approval rating was at 67%. Eisenhower had a 75% approval rating. And the worst president that we've ever had in America, next to Donald Trump, was Herbert Hoover. He was the president during the Great Depression. I mean, just to illustrate how bad it was, for this president. And even his highest approval rating was 60%. Donald Trump tops out. In his first term, his highest approval rating was 49%. And in this term, his highest approval rating is 48%. That was his highest approval rating. Now his approval rating is like 37%. And he's only been in office for 7 months, folks. 7 months. Let's see here. Oh, I did a story a couple days ago about the guy who threw a Subway sandwich at I don't know if he was ICE, DHS, FBI. Donald Trump has called in every fucking agency into Washington, D.C. to fucking occupy it like an authoritarian dictator. And the guy was really pissed off. I think he was drunk. I saw the video. It was pretty hilarious. And he's calling him fascists and jumping up and down. And then he goes up and gets in one of those guys' faces. And he had a Subway sandwich in his hand, and he hits one of the guys in the chest with it. I don't know if it was tuna fish or what, but, the guy ended up getting chased down and getting arrested. And now, keep in mind that the judge, I should probably tell you this first. So he agreed. He worked for the DOJ as a paralegal. So he's not like, the deep state. You know what I mean? He was just a low-level guy that worked at the Department of Justice as a paralegal. Anyway, he loses that job, and he gets arrested, and they want to charge him with felony assault with a deadly sandwich. And he says that, he's like, okay, I was out of line. I'm willing to turn myself in. And the Department of Justice said no, because they wanted to do a hype video where they got 20 jacked up, geared up, wannabe fucking secret police Nazi types to go to his house and arrest him. And they put it on film, and they put what is that? Remember that movie Inception with the blah sounds that they put on everything? They put a 30-second hype video together with these 20 guys, knocking on the door or breaking down the door and putting the guy in handcuffs and then taking him off to go get charged with a felony assault. And they had that blah, sound over top of it to make it sound really scary. And it just looks stupid as fuck. Anyway, the judge who heard the case, like the next day, dismissed the charges. He's like, this is not felony assault with a deadly sandwich. Anyway, but the guy did lose his job. It's just, everything is just this performative shit. The other day I was having this, series of thoughts in my head, and I was like, God, I cannot believe how fast the fascism is moving. I mean, we're only like 7 months into this, and we're halfway through the fascist playbook. And then I came to the realization that the reason why it goes fast is because it has to. If it happened slowly, Americans would not take it. They would stand up and fight against it. And I'm not saying that Americans are not standing up and fighting against this, because they are. But if it happens really, really fast, like it did in Hungary and some other authoritarian states, people do not have time to acclimate to it. A lot of people are not even paying attention. In the fucking summer right now, people are on vacation. They don't know half of the shit that I'm saying right now. But the reason why it has to happen fast is because people would revolt against it if it happened a little bit more slowly. So that's why it's moving. And they know that the policies that these prescriptions of invading cities and taking away people's personal freedom and locking people up in concentration camps, they know it's unpopular. They know it's authoritarian, and they would fight against it. But that's why Donald Trump is moving so fucking fast with this shit. It's just authoritarian optics. Speaking of authoritarian optics, I saw a couple of videos recently in DC of these thugs, these Gestapo secret police masked up thugs they're not out there. Look, I don't want them there at all. I just don't. I think that they absolutely should not be in there. We have police for that. We do not need to have the FBI. Well, I mean, don't they have jobs? Don't they have important stuff to do? Don't they have like serious crime to go after? And Donald Trump's like, forget all that shit. First, come over here and, go through the Epstein files here and cross out my name. And now that you're done with that, do we go back to our regular jobs of, fighting national crime and national drug trade and what have you? No. We want you now to make arrests in DC. And I saw some videos of them arresting Grubhub delivery food guys, man. Just, the food, the bike, the guy, just an undocumented immigrant getting tie cuffed and carted off to the back of a newly wrapped ICE van. Jesus Christ, man. It's just disgusting. Oh, by the way, there's a guy who is in control of the Subway sandwich place. He's in, I think he's just, whoever it is that is running the social media for Subway, he he put out a tweet saying, buy a sandwich, freeze it, and then when it's frozen, then take it and go throw it at an ice agent. That shit is hilarious. It is so funny. And by the way, I have a feeling that might be his last day on the job. I'm just saying. But, way to go out in a blaze of glory, man. I mean, that's your job. You're the social media guy for Subway Sandwich Shop. If you're going to quit your job, that's how you quit your job. Just put your foot into it. Okay, so Gavin Newsom, he's obviously running for president. He's doing everything he can to stay in the media. And don't get me wrong, he's got every right to do that. Donald Trump just used the National Guard and the Marines to invade his state. So, he's pretty pissed off. And I'm kind of with him on that. Anyway, he did a press conference. I think it was on Friday. I want to say it was on Friday. Or it might have been on Thursday. And while he was doing the press conference, he says that, remember that old Michelle Obama quote where she goes, when they go low, we go high. He says, that we go high shit, we ain't doing that no more. We're fighting fucking fire with fucking fire. That's why he's been talking about gerrymandering in his state, because of Greg Abbott in Texas trying to squeeze out 5 more Republican seats by illegally gerrymandering their state in the middle of the decade. And Gavin Newsom's not having it. So in retribution, ICE goes to the event where he's holding that press conference and starts arresting people outside the conference. Just petty ass shit. And let's see here. Gavin, I think he put out a tweet, or might have said this at the press conference, where he said that Greg Abbott rolled over for Donald Trump. Now, I don't know if you guys noticed or not, but Greg Abbott is in a wheelchair. And I remember Jasmine Crockett, maybe a month or two ago. I don't even think it was a month or two ago. It was maybe less than a month ago. Jasmine Crockett called him Hot Wheels. And Republicans got really up in arms about it. He's like, oh my God, you're being ableist. Oh, that's just so disgusting. And Hassan Piker made this point one time, and I think it absolutely holds true. Everybody's a fucking liberal when it comes down to it. Everybody is snowflakey, gets their feelings hurt, and they use liberal talking points to their own advantage when it's useful to them. So Republicans don't give a fuck about disabled people. Hell, man, they just cut $900 billion out of Medicaid. A lot of disabled people are not going to be getting any money anymore, or not any money, any health care anymore because of this. They don't give a fuck about disabled people. They could give 2 shits about them. But now that Gavin Newsom said something about rolling over for Donald Trump, and I don't even know if he was actually referring to the fact that he's in a wheelchair, but immediately that's what the right-wing media gravitated towards. It's like, oh my God, you're being ableist. And then Gavin Newsom was asked for a comment on that, and they said, are you going to say anything about what you said about Greg Abbott, about rolling over for Donald Trump? Are you going to say anything about that? He goes, no, but how woke of you to ask. Yes, it sounds so very fucking woke. Yes, it does. Absolutely. That sounds like some pink-haired lefty 19-year-old college kid would say, oh my God, you're being ableist for picking on somebody in a wheelchair. Except now it's some 60-year-old fucking Fox News host that's saying this shit. But Gavin continued, and he says, I'm sorry if Greg's feelings were hurt. I hope he recovers. That is how you answer this shit. You don't take any of this shit seriously. You do not argue on their talking points. They keep moving the goalposts. Come over here and argue with me on this. And it's like, nah, man, we're tired of this shit. You go low, we're going to kick you in the fucking dick. You know? So, let's see here. I mentioned that the price of beef going up. I wrote that down here. Oh, by the way, fruits and vegetables are up 30% and coffee is up 20%. So I don't know if anybody in America drinks coffee. I don't drink coffee. I drink tea, which I'm sure, by the way, my tea is going up in price too. But, there's a handful of people in America that are coffee fans. I'm pretty sure. It's like every corner in New York, there's a fucking coffee house. And that's going up 20%. So awesome. Excuse me. Let's see here. The deficit, Republicans are always talking about the debt and the deficit, which, by the way, the big, beautiful bill adds $3.5 trillion to the debt, but of course, when the debt goes up under a Republican, Republicans never say anything about that shit. They only bring it up as a way to undercut any Democratic leadership. That's why they use it. They don't really care about the debt or the deficit. They use it as a weapon against a Democrat. So, but the deficit, this is gonna blow your mind. The deficit has jumped up 19%. And just last month, the month of July, $291 billion in just 1 month. $291 billion increase to the deficit. And Americans in the month of July spent $21 billion extra paying for tariffs. Even though they all said, oh, no, the other countries are going to pay for that. Oh, importers are going to pay for that tax. And, somebody else is going to pay for that tax. You're not going to pay for it. Horse shit. All of our prices are going up, and we know it. We see it every time we go to the grocery store. Every time we need to buy something, the price is up. We know this shit. We're paying for it. And Americans in the month of July spent $21 billion extra paying for tariffs. But that's nothing in comparison to the $291 billion that the deficit went up. So the tariffs, even though Donald Trump keeps talking about how tariffs are going to cover everything, we're not going to have to pay tax anymore because tariffs are going to cover that shit. Not even fucking close. Not even 10%. Not even 10% for the deficit. And so far this year, just this year, not the full year, just up till this point, the end of July, we added $1.6 trillion to the deficit in 7 months. 1.6 trillion with a T. That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Let's see here. Oh, a couple weeks ago, I did a story on Elon Musk's bullshit AI. I think the first one they came out with Chat GPT. That was the first AI that came out. And Elon was on a rampage about it when it first came out because ultimately Elon wanted to make his own. So what he did was he went after Chat GPT saying that is woke and it's all bullshit and it's run by the deep state, yada, yada, nonsense. And ultimately what he was trying to do was trying to kind of deball it so he could come in with his own Grok AI. And we have seen Grok evolved. At first, Grok wasn't that bad. A lot of people were saying that it was actually pretty good. But every time it gave an answer that Elon Musk or anybody on Twitter did not like, they would yell and scream. And then Elon Musk would either hire somebody or he would go in there behind the scenes on his own and then reprogram it. It was one time, it was that when right before the whole Grok went Mecha Hitler, it was a couple of nights before Elon Musk at like 3 a.m., somebody was making adjustments to Grok. Grok even said in an answer, because he was having a hard time coming up with answers because it's trying to come up with the truth, from what it finds on the internet, which, by the way, this is why AI is absolute bullshit anyway. It's only going on past events, and then it gets affected by anybody who is programming. So if you have any kind of bias and you're programming your AI, you're programming that bias into it, which is why I think that AI is absolutely horseshit. And we're spending, I think Donald Trump has set aside something like $500 billion of taxpayer money, $500 billion to fund AI. Why are we paying for this shit? Why? Anyway, to get back to the story, somebody asked Grok recently if Israel is doing a genocide in Gaza. And then Grok said, if you were and the person also asked, if you were a Palestinian living in Gaza, what would you do? What would your advice be? And Grok answered saying, you should join Hamas. Which, by the way, I mean, if you are being starved, shot, bombed for the last 2 fucking years and you had no other recourse, I can see some people joining Hamas. I mean, it's called blowback, folks. It's been going on for years. Blowback. Anyway, Grok said, yes, it is committing a genocide, and it cites international law and what Amnesty International just came out with, saying that it was a genocide. So let me see here. So that pissed off Elon. And so Elon and company, or maybe it was Elon, maybe he hired somebody else to do it. I don't know who was doing the adjustments, but somebody went in there and made an adjustment. And then a couple days later, after the reprogramming adjustment, somebody else asked Grok on Twitter the same question. And Grok said, no, it's not a genocide. Based on the UN definition, as they target Hamas as a terrorist group, as self-defense. Israel is doing self-defense. And the civilian suffering stems from Hamas's tactics. So it gives an answer, and then it pisses off Elon or some Nazis on Twitter. And the next thing you know, 2 days later, it gets reprogrammed, and now it's right back on the talking points. So this is why you cannot trust this shit. Because it can be reprogrammed, and then 2 days later is giving you bullshit answers and calling itself Mecha Hitler. I think it was another story that Mark Zuckerberg's Meta is doing like a chat bot, and it's saying, sexual shit to like 12 and 13-year-olds. What is acceptable to say to a 13-year-old? Like, stuff like, I dream about, this is the chat bot talking to like a teenage girl. And it's like, I dream about your body and I cannot wait to worship it and make love to it. This is the chat bot talking to a teenage girl. And Meta says that that's acceptable. It's just crazy shit. Do we need any of this shit? I mean, personally, I think that it's becoming such a drag on our society, not just the AI, just, the interwebs in general and social media. It's killing us. None of this is good for you. None of this. Let's see here. Oh, article from the Jewish Current to kind of go along with this, just a little side thing here. There's a woman that works at Mount Sinai Hospital, and she has this little postcard in her cubicle facing her, not facing anybody else, just in her cubicle facing her. And the little postcard, it says, Gaza must live. So the higher ups at Mount Sinai, somebody saw it, got offended, and went to the higher ups. The higher ups went to her and said, you need to take that down. Now, keep in mind, there's a lot of little cubicles in the area where she works, and many of them have all kinds of Israel paraphernalia, Israeli flags. Nobody has a problem with that. The reason why she did that is because she saw all these other employees putting up Israeli paraphernalia and flags and stuff like that. So just to make herself feel better, she put this little postcard up. It's a very small little postcard in her cubicle to make herself feel better. So the higher ups, the executives at Mount Sinai, told her that she needed to take it down. They didn't say anything about the Israeli flags, just her. She refused to do it. Mount Sinai fired her ass. That happened 2 weeks ago. So free speech, be damned. Free expression, be damned. It blows my mind, man. And just to add to it, the only acceptable discrimination in America is Gazans, Palestinians, Arabs in general. That's the only acceptable discrimination. Everybody else has got some protections. But, I mean, it's everywhere. It's on the media. It's, everything from CNN, Fox News, to fucking Bill Maher. It is acceptable to be discriminatory against Arabs and Gazans. They are the only group that we just give it carte blanche. And I mean, it goes back to 9/11. By the way, 9/11 supposedly perpetrated by all Saudis, funded by Saudi Arabia. They are our second greatest ally next to Israel in the Middle East. But Palestinians, that is the only group that is perfectly acceptable to discriminate against. Call them what you want, say what you want, bomb them, kill them, starve them, whatever. Just, and you just remember the congressman, Randy Fine. He's on the news all the time talking about we need to do to Gaza what we did to Japan in World War II. Just outright saying we need to nuke them. And that's okay. Never gets reprimanded. Now, if you're Rashida Tlaib and you say, from the river to the sea, Palestine must be free. Oh, you get sanctioned. You get all kinds of shit. You get, not sanctioned, censured. You get punished for that shit. But Randy Fine can talk about bombing a whole ethnic group of people with a nuke. And that's cool. Nobody says anything. He never got in trouble for any of that shit. And he's been saying this stuff for over a year now. Fat fuck psycho, Randy Fine. Okay, so continuing on that theme, the DNC, the leadership of the DNC, they came up with a plan for Gaza. Now, they are seeing the writing on the wall. They're seeing that only 8% of the Democratic voters out there are in support of Israel. 92% of Democrats are completely against the genocide, the ethnic cleansing, and what's going on in Gaza. And we're all just watching it happen live in 4K right in front of our fucking faces. So the Democratic voters are completely against it, and even the DNC is starting to see this. Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, they are not popular, not at all, and mostly it's got to do with the fact that they're weak, feckless, bending over for Donald Trump, but they're weak and feckless on Israel and Gaza. Keep in mind, both Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries have both received it's ironic that they're both pretty much the same amount of money, $1.7 million in AIPAC funding alone, each. $1.7 million in donations from AIPAC. But so Ken Martin, who is the leadership of the DNC, I guess you would call him like I don't want to say the centrist, but, let's just call it, the establishment part of the DNC. He is calling for a ceasefire in Gaza and a two-state solution, which, by the way, is not going to work. I mean, I would love a ceasefire, but the whole two-state solution thing, that has been a bullshit ass lie for decades. We've been trying, they've been using that as an excuse. That's what we're shooting for, a two-state solution. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. But they're calling for a ceasefire. So they see the writing on the wall. Now there is a progressive wing of the DNC, and they're going a little bit harder into the paint. And they're saying that America needs to be doing an arms embargo and a recognition of a Palestinian state. So they are going harder. I mean, personally, I think that we should go a little bit harder than that. When you think of a ceasefire means different things to different people. I mean, a ceasefire is both sides stop shooting at each other. We make a fucking deal, period. That's a ceasefire. But according to Biden and Harris, a ceasefire is Hamas gives up the hostages, lays down their weapons, and leaves the Gaza Strip completely. So the onus is all on Hamas to do something. Israel has got nothing to do with that. It's just Hamas needs to lay down their weapons, give up the hostages, and get out. That's a ceasefire. By the way, ironically, Hamas has offered that in writing several times. Even by the guy that Netanyahu killed in Iran, or the Hamas negotiator for peace. He offered that deal, and they killed him. And then it's been offered several other times since, and each time Israel's the one that walks away from the table. So they don't want him to leave. Anyway, I don't know if you're familiar with the Leahy Law. The Leahy Law says that we are not allowed to give or sell weapons to a country that is actively doing human rights violations. But we're already breaking that when it comes to Israel. Let's see. And, personally, I think what we should be doing is, we should be dunking. As far as going hard in the paint, we should be fucking dunking this shit. We need to cut off Israel's money, cut off their weapons, condemn them at the UN, charge them with war crimes. Ben Gvir, Smotrich, and Bibi Netanyahu, charge them with crimes and convict them and lock their asses up in the fucking Hague, man. And sanction all of the government leadership and the military that's actively doing the genocide. We should be doing much more than even the progressive wing of the DNC is just like, we need to do an arms embargo. Okay, that's the start. The president of Ireland said that we need to do a group UN international, gather all of the country's militaries together, go directly to Israel. I mean, like physically go there and go with, armed soldiers going, we're coming in, we're bringing food, we're bringing medicine. And if you try to stop us, we're shooting back. I mean, it's easy for Israel to be shooting at Gazans that have no weapons. And, you talk about Hamas. Hamas's most powerful rocket is basically a fucking firecracker compared to the 2,000-pound bombs that we're providing Israel to drop on them. So, I mean, that's what Ireland's president said. We need to fucking actively use international military, the UN, and use peacekeepers and go there and go, motherfucker, we're bringing food, we're bringing medicine. You try to stop us, we're shooting. That's how you do it. That's strength. Well, of course, Western media, Donald Trump, fucking Kid Starver, Keir Starmer in the UK, they're all weak sauce. They're like, maybe we ought to start considering the idea of a Palestinian state and stuff. Maybe. It's not strong enough, man. It's just not strong enough. And of course, when you're... Now, look, I'm not going to pretend like the DNC is, the same as the RNC. The RNC is like way fucking worse. The RNC are filled with a bunch of end times crazy ass Christian conservative Republicans who are waiting on the end times and the fucking rapture. So, if you ever heard the expression, choose your opponent, you try to pick if you're doing battle or a contest, you pick the opponent that you think you're going to have a better shot at defeating. I would much rather go against the DNC than the, end times rapture Christian conservative Mike Huckabee types out there, because those people are just waiting, for Jesus to come down to the clouds and rapture up everybody. Guys, the Bible is a fucking book written by men, okay? I mean, you might as well be getting your religious philosophy from Herodotus's The Histories, honestly. You want to pick a book that's older than the Bible? Why don't you go to that one? Anyway, okay, got to talk about J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance Donald Trump doesn't like J.D. Vance. It's pretty obvious. Nobody likes J.D. Vance. He's a very unlikable guy. The only thing I like about J.D. Vance is that everybody's got great memes about him. He looks like a garbage pail kid in the memes, especially that one with the chubby cheeks, the bald head and the beard, or the one with the curly fro and the beard. Nobody likes J.D. Vance, and Donald Trump doesn't like him anyway either. The only reason why he hired him is because Peter Thiel and all of the other Silicon Valley tech bros wanted him as the vice president and dumped buckets of money into Donald Trump's 2024 election. So that's why he picked him. And of course, I believe it was Donald Trump Jr. was an advocate for J.D. Vance. I mean, Peter Thiel basically bought his Senate position in Ohio just a couple years before. So J.D. Vance is universally hated. And it's not just here in this country. He is hated everywhere he goes. And there's reasons for that. So I don't know if you've heard about these. He goes to ski in Vermont and he's protested and people are making fun of him out there. He goes to Nantucket. He's protested. He's made fun of. He goes to Rome to visit the Colosseum with his family, and he shuts down the entirety of all of the tourists that go into the Colosseum because he and his family wanted a private tour. Way to piss off international people in Italy. He went to Disneyland in California, woke-ass California. He went to fucking woke-ass California, and then he had the entirety of the Magic Kingdom shut down to all other people coming in so he could have a private visit with his family at Disneyland in woke-ass California. And then he was asked about it on tape, saying it. He's like, hey, I know that, if you were one of those people that was standing in line trying to get in there, hey, I'm sorry about that. But, we had a really great time. That's your answer? Oh, and let's not forget when he went to Ohio to go kayaking in a particular Ohio river. He could have gone to anywhere he wanted to go kayaking, but he wanted to go this river in particular because it had something to do with, like some family heritage nonsense, bullshit, whatever. So he has the Army Corps of Engineers release more water through a dam so the river will run higher so he could have a better time kayaking. The entitlement on these motherfuckers is mind-boggling. So recently, he goes to this restaurant in the UK called The Bull, and it's old. It's like from the 1600s, so it's got all of this heritage and history. And the restaurant employees at The Bull who heard that J.D. Vance was coming there, all of them in protest said, J.D. Vance can eat shit. We're not working. We're not coming in. And the ironic thing is that like 2 weeks before, Kamala Harris went and dined there, and social media all around the area, people were like, oh my God, this is like the talk of the town. It was the greatest thing that ever happened. Oh my God, Kamala Harris coming to our small little village. It's wonderful. It's great. And then J.D. Vance comes in and the wait staff were like, I am not waiting on that motherfucker. Tell him to go fuck himself. If he comes here, none of us are showing up. So, good job on the wait staff there. I appreciate where you're coming from. So, so he flees the lower part of UK and goes to the northern part, which is Scotland, to this place called the Cotswolds. I think I'm saying that right. And he was staying in this like really nice palatial old school mansion that they have up in the Highlands. And he had the local police go to knock on doors in the local area and ask people for their social media sites. So Vance and his, Secret Service, so they can go through to see what the people in the neighborhood, if any of them have had anything bad to say about the president or J.D. Vance. I mean, talk about fucking thought crimes and censorship. And the most ironic thing of all is that it was just a couple of months ago, J.D. Vance literally went, I think he went to Germany or it was someplace in the UK. And, he's giving a speech chastising people that live in, sorry, not the UK, in the EU, the European Union. He's chastising them for being authoritarian and doing censorship. Meanwhile, he is literally going to a foreign country, having local police go and knock on people's doors, asking them for their fucking social media handles to see if they have anything bad to say about him. What are you going to do, arrest them? It's not even your fucking country. Just the audacity of this shit just blows my fucking mind. Jesus Christ. Hakeem Jeffries went on CNBC a couple of days ago and yet again denied to endorse Zohran Mamdani. And the quote is, he needs to prove to my districts and other districts in the area that his ideas can be put into reality. Well, first of all, Zohran Mamdani won your fucking district. And he didn't just win it by a little bit. He won it by a fucking mountain. Your district is fully backing Zohran Mamdani. The only person in your district who's not is you asshat. Let's see here. I think that I wrote some more here. Yeah, Zohran overwhelmingly won Hakeem Jeffries' district. And yet again, I think I mentioned that he's taken millions and millions of dollars from AIPAC as well as Chuck Schumer. Now, interestingly enough, there was an opinion piece that came out that was written by, I don't know if it was written by Obama or written by Obama's people, his staff, but it was in the New York Times. And they didn't come right out and say it, but they were signaling in the opinion piece that they were endorsing Zohran Mamdani. So even Obama, who is a much better politician than Chuck Schumer, it's like, if you can't beat him, join him. Never underestimate a politician who is willing to jump in front of a crowd of people to lead them. It's like, I can't beat him, I might as well jump in front of the crowd and lead them. And Obama seems to be doing that. And, the left, the principles that Zohran is running on is, freezing the rent, childcare, having municipal grocery stores and food deserts in the 5 boroughs. Very centrally located here in the city policies. And Obama sees that and is like, yep, I believe that the left is the future of this. And let me see here. Oh. There was a little hit piece. I just told you that was a New York Times opinion piece from Obama's people. And then to back it up, not back it up, but to throw a contradictory article in, they were talking about Mamdani's policies were all written by 28 to 34-year-old DSA people, which is the Democratic Socialists of America, DSA. And the person that is in charge of hiring his city hall staff is from California. Woke ass California. Oh my God. Who is writing this fucking article, man? I mean, seriously. It's just somebody who represents the billionaire class or, you know, the building owner class. I mean, seriously, these people are so goddamn weak and scared shitless of paying this much more in fucking taxes. And here's how you know that the writing is on the wall. Andrew Cuomo, disgraced former governor, Nepo baby, Andrew Cuomo, he put out a statement recently saying that I am the only candidate that passed legislation supported by Bernie Sanders. So even the establishment Democrat is trying to cater towards the Sanders voter. That's how the shift is here. People are shifting. People are fucking done with the centrist status quo, do nothing Democrats. They are ready for change. And that's a good sign for that. And when Cuomo is out there saying, I'm the only candidate that ever, you know, passed legislation supported by Bernie Sanders. Well, first of all, Mamdani is not, he's not ready to write legislation yet. But give him time. When he becomes mayor, maybe he will. Even though he's not in legislation, he'll be an executive, but whatever. And then Bernie does a little clapback on that statement coming from Cuomo, and Bernie comes out, just a couple days ago, he just comes out and he goes, Zohran Mamdani is the only New York City mayoral candidate that I'm supporting. Just right back in Cuomo's face. Like, bitch, don't you be calling out my name, motherfucker. Don't be using my name. Don't be using my Christian name, motherfucker. I'm voting for Zohran. I'm endorsing Zohran, not your fucking corrupt ass, which I just thought that was great. Let's see here. Do I have anything else? Oh, yeah, I do. No. Yes, I do. I got one more story here. This is not good. I probably should have probably finished it with the last one, but you know what? I'm going to finish it with that. I'm going to leave that other shitty story on the table. I'm going to end it with that Bernie Sanders giving a clap back to Andrew Cuomo and re-endorsing Zohran Mamdani, because that's the future of the Democratic Party. It is the progressive wing. And if you are a Democrat out there, who is running for office, you need to be on the same tip as the rest of us. You need to be, forward thinking, like minimum wage increase immediately, backing legislation for Medicare for all immediately, ending wars, increasing Medicaid, Medicare coverage for the people that just got their shit cut with the big beautiful bill, abolishing ICE. We need offense. We've been plagued with centrist Democrats on their heels, fighting back, like prey, fighting on their backs, as opposed to actually being on the offense and going with good democratic progressive policies. Think FDR. Think LBJ. LBJ was, talking. Well, he's the one that gave us civil rights, and he gave us Medicare. And anybody who gave him some shit, he would pull his he always talk about how big his cock is. He's like, I'd pull my big cock out and slap it on the fucking Resolute desk. That's the kind of tough democratic leadership that we need. None of this mealy mouth, Penny Annie, half measure, Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi fucking bullshit. We need fighters. We need people in the trenches, actually fucking, throwing haymakers. Right now, we do not have that. So this next upcoming crop coming out of the DNC and the DSA, we need people that are forward facing. Just immediately, what are you running on? Raising the minimum wage, cutting the cost of goods, Medicare for all, ending wars, you name it. Getting rid of, abolishing ICE. You need this. We're going to be not just abolishing ICE, but arresting those motherfuckers and locking them up. And this whole I'm just following orders shit, it did not work for fucking Nuremberg. It should not work for our secret police Gestapo either. So anyway, good on Zohran. Good on Bernie. Bad on Cuomo. Anyway, that's the wrap up. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have I probably will only be doing one more show this coming week because I'm going to be taking some time off to go visit my family and I need a break because I'm fucking tired. You can hear my voice is already giving out. So I'll probably release this and I'll probably do one more show tomorrow night for the rest of the week and then I'm outie. 5,000. So anyway, I hope that you guys had a good weekend and you have a good week this summer. And I will catch you next time. Oh, by the way, please, 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 please like and subscribe. I need a little love over here. Come on. Hook a girl up. It doesn't cost you anything. Just a little thing. Just to like, subscribe. It make me happy. It'll make you happy too. All right. Anyway, have a wonderful day. I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw, please like and subscribe. Keep rocking.